What's up guys, Starshaped here with a tier list for the Ultimates in Warcraft 3. So maybe you've seen these tier lists floating around. I thought it'd be fun to make one for Warcraft 3 specifically, and then I thought maybe I'd start with Ultimates. I mean, you could do tier lists about pretty much anything, I suppose. But I thought I'd start with Ultimates and see what you guys think about this video and see if you agree with me in my picks here. So obviously S tier here is the best, and then D is the worst. You can add more, but I thought this was enough for the Ultimates in Warcraft. So I've lined them all up here by race. So we have Undead, Human, Orc, Night Elf, and then the neutral spells, neutral ultimates down there. So I'm going to start with probably the most obvious, which is the Death Knight Ultimate, Animate Dead, which is a solid D tier. It's probably the worst ultimate in the game. I'll probably end up sorting them by their categories as well, but for now, yeah. Death and Decay, I'm sorry, Animate Dead, terrible spell. It's basically hurting yourself picking it. Using this spell is pretty much like mana burning yourself. Like it actually just hurts you most of the time. Sometimes you'll see it used if the undead's just about to win anyway and he levels up level 6, he'll pick the ultimate there and use it just for show. But it's god awful, terrible. The big issue is that the units last for a very short amount of time, I think 30 seconds, and they're invulnerable. So like you don't want them to be invulnerable. That's not a nice aspect to it, because you want them to soak up. Like if you have a temporary unit, if you have a temporary abomination, you want that to soak up damage, but it doesn't. So yeah, I think most people will agree with me here. This is solid D tier. Death and Decay, the Lich Ultimate here. Gonna put that in the, I'm sorry to say actually, probably C. Like, it's situationally, like, it's never something that you really get super excited about, if you know what I mean. Like, oh boy, I got level 6 Lich. But there are situations where Death and Decay is super strong, like against, if you're in a base raid situation, if your opponent's making a lot of towers or camping, you can draw them out or force a town portal by using this spell. But it's not super exciting. Locust Swarm, solid. Is that an A tier? I think that's A tier. Like, we very rarely see this ultimate because the Crypt Lord isn't played that much. Usually only as a third hero, so it's very rare to see his ultimate in play. But if you've ever actually seen it, it's very, very powerful. It's one of those game changers, but it's definitely not like one of the best spells in the game. But it suits the hero very well. He's very tanky, soaking up a lot of damage, and this ultimate deals a lot of damage and then heals the Crypt Lord back up. And the cooldown is fairly short, I believe. So definitely a solid. I might move this. We'll see. For now, I'll put that on A tier. Inferno, the Dreadlord Ultimate, solid S tier. Don't even think about it. This is probably one of, if not the best ultimates in the game. AoE stun, magic immune, immolated, huge unit that just wrecks everything. The best summon ultimate, I would say, at the very least. So yeah, these are the undead ultimates. We'll move on to the human here with the Avatar, the Mountain King Avatar. Honestly, I don't think it's a super exciting ultimate. It's like probably the definition of a B tier. It's nice to be magic immune, but that's pretty much what you get. And it's also one of those situations where, like, if you get level 6 Mountain King, I don't think it's very rare that you would get super excited about it. Like, you'd be pretty happy to get level 6. You'd probably pick the ultimate most of the time. Which I should say, Death and Decay and Animate Dead are, I mean, Animate Dead is never going to get picked. So you'd rather have Unholy Aura level 3 than this. And Death and Decay, you can probably pick Dark Ritual over it in most situations. Avatar, you're probably going to pick it no matter what. Rarely you'll see people pick like Bash level 3 in some situations. But yeah, solid ultimate. Not too exciting, not too bad. It's like definition of the middle of the road ultimate in Warcraft, I would say. Onto Mass Teleport. I'm not really sure how people feel about this. I would say it's definitely S tier. It doesn't have like an immediate impact on the battlefield. It doesn't look too impressive on paper, but uh, in an actual game, like basically this spell unlocks an aspect of the game that your opponent doesn't have access to. You get free town portals, and you can town portal anywhere you want on the map with a very short cooldown. It's a game changer for sure. If you use it wisely, this can turn games around. This can guarantee wins just by being annoying with that spell. I probably rank it higher than Infernal, so I'm going to rank them this way as well. So Mass Teleport, I'd say so far the best ultimate in the game. So moving on to Phoenix, the Blood Mage ultimate here. I mean, it's definitely like if Infernal is S tier, I think Phoenix has to be S tier as well. Like it's next to Infernal, it's probably the best summon ultimate. Which I suppose doesn't say too much, but I mean it's very, very versatile. Flying, magic immune, spreads some AoE damage, very high DPS output, and does magic damage. So it's really good at killing like knights and abominations, those types of units. And when it dies, it becomes an egg. So if you use it carefully, you can keep it alive forever. You can just harass your opponent's base, for example, then run away, let the egg form somewhere else where they can't get to it. Then the Phoenix gets renewed, and you keep doing it. So it's very, very strong in the battlefield, very strong out of the battlefield, which is the same thing for Infernal here. Like you can use it in the battlefield, but then you can just walk it to someone's expansion. You can right-click a tree or something, and it's just going to be super annoying because it lasts forever, almost. So moving on to Resurrection here, the Paladin Ultimate. I think I'd put it in the same category as Avatar. It's a strong ultimate most of the time, but it's not something I get super, super excited over. Like if you can resurrect like 6 knights, that's amazing. But it's not always guaranteed to be that good. You never really know like when how many corpses are going to be available at what point in the game. Like it's not something you can use whenever you want, like Infernal or Phoenix or Mass Teleport. You have to first of all have a fight, and you have to have enough corpses that you can use the ultimate. That it's worth to use the ultimate, and then you have to have good corpses as well. But yeah, it's situationally very, very strong. Situationally, kind of underwhelming. Solid B tier, I would say. Now we're moving on to the Orc ultimates here. Big Bad Voodoo. I'll probably put that. Honestly, I'll put that on the D tier. I think situationally, yeah, it can have some good uses, and you'll probably almost always pick it because if you're a level 6 Shadowhunter, you'll have level 3 Heal Wave and level 2 Hex, and you don't need level 3 Hex. Like at the point in the game where you can get level 3 Hex, your opponent's going to be able to dispel it. So there's no point in picking Hex. If you're going like Serpent Ward to Heal Wave, then I can definitely see people skipping Big Bad Voodoo to get level 3 Serpent Wards instead, because basically it's an offensive ultimate. You have to use it in a fight, but one stun and it's gone. So at the point in the game where you have this spell, your opponent's going to have a way to deal with it. It's basically just a waste of mana. But there are some instances if you can get some really good position with it, you can avoid. If you can position your armies in such a way that they can't actually get to your Shadowhunter, stuff like that, it can be quite nice. But yeah, very underwhelming. Earthquake. Gonna put that right next to Death and Decay. I think I prefer Death and Decay because it's percent based, whereas Earthquake isn't. But I guess Earthquake is a bit better in a battle, but I mean you're not going to use any of those in an actual battle. But yeah, it's kind of underwhelming. A lot of the times you'll probably pick level 3 Chain Lightning instead of this ultimate. But if you unlock it, it's almost similar in a way to Mass Teleport in that once you unlock this, you can kind of start changing the way you play the game. If you want to, you can start base racing, base laming, and stuff with that ultimate. But not very exciting. Definitely not as good as Mass Teleport in that aspect either. But again, if your opponent has a lot of towers, or if it's a base race game and you get this ultimate, it can be game changing. Resurrection. It's hard to say really. It's either A or B. I'm gonna say A tier. And I should mention that most of this is for 1 versus 1 in mind, keeping that in mind. Uh, Probably better than a Locust Swarm. The thing about Resurrection is like it doesn't actually do anything. It kind of forces your opponent to not right-click your Tarn Chieftain, basically. Like as soon as that if I'm playing against Orc and they get Resurrection or a Reincarnation, sorry, on their Tarn Chieftain, then that just basically puts like a command in my brain, like okay, you can never ever attack that hero again. You can never kill it. Don't do anything against that hero because it's going to come back. So against a smart opponent, you might not actually get so much out of this because they're just going to completely ignore your Tarn Chieftain, but that in itself is a benefit. And it's kind of hard to avoid the Tarn Chieftain because he's up in the front. He's tanking damage. He's using war stomps. Like he is annoying. He's in the way. You want to deal with him. So certainly, even though you can play around it in a sense, it's still very, very, very powerful. And you can always kill your own Tarn Chieftain. If it's like out of mana, has 100 HP left, you can kill it and get it back. So you can activate it yourself, which is a bonus. Bladestorm, I'm going to put that on the B tier. Probably better than both of those, I would say. Not super exciting, but you'll probably pick it most of the time you get it. And at least in the like before the new patches, in a lot of matchups, this would be a game changer because your opponent will have a lot of low hit point units. It'll be mass casters from human, mass talons from night elf. I guess that's mainly the two matchups where this can really just change the game. You can slaughter a whole bunch of casters in a matter of seconds. And with Windwalk, it has great synergy because you can always get great positioning with it and use it. But I don't think it's super good. It's quite expensive, has a pretty long cooldown, and it does leave your hero vulnerable to attacks as well. So yeah, those are the orcs. Moving on to Night Elf now. Metamorphosis. I'm unsure. It did get nerfed, like I think 15 seconds was removed from the timer here. I'm hesitating between putting it on S and A. I still think I'd put it on S tier, but probably lower than all of these three, because it's still a game changer. Like once you get Metamorphosis, it has such an impact on the game right away. Like it can just win you the game. And usually with the Demon Hunter, if he's level 5 already, that's very powerful. And if he just gets that one extra step to level 6, it definitely feels like it can just end the game. But you can play around it. Like basically this ultimate, unless you're forcing a fight in their main or something, then this ultimate just to me is like force your opponent to town portal. That's what it does. Force your opponent to not take a fight because they're gonna avoid you if you use this ultimate. And with the shorter shorter duration, it's definitely not gonna be as powerful these days. And that's kind of the difference between the rest of the S tier so far is that you can't really ignore the Phoenix or the Infernal or the Mass Teleport. They're undealable with, so to speak. But still, the ranged chaos splash damage, extra hit points, it's just amazing on a Demon Hunter who's already doing a lot of damage, who's already quite tanky. And you still get access to all his spells and stuff. It's very strong. Tranquility, though. I hesitate to put that on A or S. I'd probably say I'm gonna put it on A. The new buffed, like the old one was a lot worse, but this new one, definitely A tier because of the invulnerability at the start. You always get a guaranteed value no matter when you use this, which is something they should probably add to all of these, like Big Bad Voodoo, Starfall, which we'll get to. But the fact that you get to be invulnerable and the fact that it heals so rapidly, I'd say makes this an A tier because it's guaranteed value. You can use it in and out of the fight. You can use it after a fight to heal up. You can use it in a fight. It has an insanely short cooldown. Doesn't cost a lot of mana. It's on a hero that has a lot of mana anyway, and it's going to have mana to spare. And this is definitely one of those spells where once you get it, you just kind of feel a rush of joy in your heart, like, okay, I might just win this game now. But still, it's not like S tier because I would say there are situations where it's kind of underwhelming. If it's a low economy situation, not a lot of units around, it's not going to do that too much. It kind of requires you to have a lot of units. It requires you to have a battlefield to get most of the use out of it. Avatar Vengeance, the Warden ultimate here. Like this is one of those ultimates where you have to consider the context. Like in a vacuum, this isn't a very strong ultimate really, but if you're playing Warden, you're usually playing solo Warden, and playing solo Warden means you're going to get that ultimate pretty fast in the game. And getting this early on is definitely a game changer. And a lot of strategies against Warden, like rifle caster pushes, ghouls and stuff like that, like they're just going to turn into these tiny avatar invulnerable spirits that dish out a lot of damage. Uh, but like if you look at these, it has to be A, right? Probably A tier. It's not as good as these S tier ones so far, but it definitely thinks it feels better than like Avatar or Resurrection, and definitely better than these. So it's probably A tier. Uh, I'd say it's worse than. I think I'd put Tranquility here as the best A so far, and probably Avatar following that, and then Resurrection, and then the Carrying Swarm or the Locust Swarm. Again, it's quite versatile. It lasts a very long time. You can send those invulnerable spirits to do other things. You can use them to harass or take down towers. Like it's a pretty versatile spell at the end of the day. Starfall, straight to D tier here. It's one of those. It's just like Big Bad Voodoo uh, and Tranquility almost before the patch. It's you can't ever get use out of this almost. It's very, 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 very situational. Costs a ton of mana. And at the point in the game where you can use this spell, your opponent is going to have disable in one way or another, and it's just not going to do anything for you. So it's one of those spells you don't often skill it unless you already won the game, or if it's like Priestess Mirror or something where your opponent actually doesn't have disable. But yeah, this one is it's also one of those spells that they should probably add invulnerability to it to guarantee some use out of it. But yeah, it's garbage. Still better than Animate Dead, and probably better than Big Bad Voodoo, I would say. So now we're on to the actual neutral heroes. But before we look at that, I mean, we can kind of tell just by the racial heroes here that the S tier is dominated by two human spells or two human ultimates, one undead, one night elf. In the A tier, one night elf, two night elves, one orc, one undead. So really, the undead ultimates they look pretty good on paper here, but in practice, I mean, most of the games you're going to see Death Knight and Lich, and that means you're going to see these terrible ultimates. So and we are seeing a lot more Dreadlord these days, and the Infernal is powerful. But like I said, when you have context in mind, the fact that the most used heroes for undead have these really awful ultimates, and like the least used Night Elf hero has a bad ultimate, doesn't really matter because you're not going to see her too much. But yeah. So moving on to the neutral heroes here, we have Dark Ranger's Charm. Gonna put that as A tier, probably the best A tier so far. Where's that S tier? Honestly, it's kind of hard to determine these because I'm gonna say A tier because it's powerful, but in a lot of situations it's not that powerful. It certainly puts a clock on your opponent as soon as you get that level 6 Dark Ranger. It tells your opponent that they probably want to end the game pretty soon, or else that's going to get ridiculous in a short while. They're just going to keep stealing your units, especially if you're Night Elf, for example, or human, and you can use a Staff of Sanctuary or Preservation to charm something and then steal it and send it back home. But I mean, if your opponent's going for like Mass Caster Army or something like that, Mass Ghouls, whatever, like if it's a low tier army composition, then it's not super exciting to like charm a Rifleman. It really kind of requires you to charm like a Frostworm or something or a Knight. Then it feels really good. But situational, but still very very powerful. Definitely like as soon as you get this, you get a bump in confidence, and your opponent's gonna feel pretty bad. So Doom, the Pit Lord ultimate here, gets you a Doom Guard after killing a unit. Surprisingly bad ultimate. I'm gonna put it probably the best B tier. And the reason for that is that the Doom Guard itself isn't like magic immune, and the spells are kind of underwhelming. It's nice that you get to kill a unit, but the actual summon is way way worse than the Infernal, for example. But still powerful. uh, just yeah, like if you ever actually get this in a game, then you'll probably realize what I'm saying. That it's quite underwhelming. It doesn't do as much as you might think. Uh, can't really say much more than that. But still, solid B, probably the best B tier here. So a robo form for the Tinker. This is another one where you have to kind of keep context. On paper, I think this is a pretty underwhelming ultimate, but in context, if you're getting this ultimate, you're probably playing Tinker first, and if you're playing Tinker first, you're probably doing something really lame, like mass towers and tanks, and this has perfect synergy for that strategy. So, gonna put it as A tier here, probably the best A tier. But this is with context in mind, like solo Tinker, tower tanks, stuff like that. Then being able to kill buildings real fast, be magic immune, be able to be repaired. It's just it's an amazing synergy with that style. So that's why I'm putting it so far up. But again, it's pretty rare to see. But when we do see it, it's pretty insane. So Stampede, the Beastmaster Ultimate, pretty underwhelming, but quite versatile. I'd probably put it as the best C tier. Again, you can disable this ultimate, but the nice thing about it is you can actually use it in someone's main, for example. You don't have to use it in the battlefield. It has versatility in that way. So if you run into someone's main with an invisibility potion, use this ultimate. You can probably get a good couple of rounds in before they realize what's happening and try to stop you. And in the battlefield, it can be pretty good too if you don't have disable. But again, most people will have disable, and it's not that powerful. A lot of times, you'll probably get a level 3 summon instead of this ultimate. But definitely the best C tier, I would say. Storm, Earth, and Fire. That's S tier right away. Question is, where exactly? I'd probably say it's probably here, like right in between. I think it's worse than Infernal and Mass Teleport, but it's better than Phoenix and Metamorphosis. But yeah, this is one of those insane, like once you get the spell, it's a game changer. You probably win if you get the spell. If the game is somewhat even and you get that ultimate, then you're going to win the game. 3 insane summons, a lot of versatility in those summons. One of them has Windwalk, so you can almost always guarantee that one of your guys gets out to save the panda. The only downside is you can't use your spells from the actual Pandaria and Brewmaster. But you get a lot of other spells with the summons, so that's fine. So yeah, solid S tier ultimate there. Transmute. It's kind of in the same boat as Charm, but I'd say more versatile. I'm going to put it as S tier, but probably higher than, probably like here. Maybe even better than Storm Earth Fire, the Panda Ultimate here. A Transmute, like Charm is more situational. Like they're very, very similar, but I'd say Transmute is a lot better because getting the gold is not, like you can use the gold to spend on whatever you actually need instead of what your opponent happens to have. Uh, and they serve the same kind of threat. Like you don't want you to get your Frostworms transmuted. So basically, also considering the context of the Alchemist is just an insane hero right now, you're probably going to play him a lot. He has a good chance of getting level 6, and when he does, it's just a game changer. Dark Ranger, we're not seeing as much of. But yeah, I'm not really sure. It's hard to, like, in my heart I can feel that Transmute is a lot better, but it's hard to actually put into words exactly why. But I think it has a shorter cooldown, costs less, gives you more. It's more annoying. Yeah, I think I'd rather kill a unit and get the gold than to charm a unit. Like either way, your opponent's losing a unit, and I'd rather get the gold than the actual unit most of the time, I would say. So that's why I put them up there. But now that I say it, I think I should probably move the charm to the best A tier, because I mean they are quite similar. Almost want to put it here on S tier, very, very similar. But I still think Transmute is better. Well, we're leaving quite underwhelming ultimates here at the end. Volcano, solid D. I'd say it's probably even worse than Animate Dead. Animate Dead has like some kind of very, very niche purposes, but Volcano is just garbage. So I should put it here. Tornado, same thing, D tier. like there's no reason to actually pick that spell. Like if you have a level 9 Naga and you get level 10, then maybe you'll pick it. But I think all of these you can pretty much swap them around however you please. It doesn't really matter. They're all terrible. I think I will say that Animate Dead is probably the worst though. I think Tornado has more niche value. Volcano does too. Big Babudu, Starfall. All of these have some kind of situations. I have a very hard time thinking of Animate Dead. Maybe if you could like if you could animate 6 raiders and kill a building. I don't know. Like it's very hard to actually think of a good purpose for that spell. Uh, or maybe use it to prevent your opponent from using Resurrection. That could be a good use. But yeah, I think this is my list, and I'm just gonna double check the order here. So like I said, the D tier you can switch these around however you want. They're all terrible. But I would say Starfall is the best of them. C tier, same thing here. Stampede is probably better than the other two. Doom by far the best speed tier, I would say. I'm not sure if maybe Avatar is better than Bladestorm, but it's pretty close. And then Resurrection, these are all quite similar, I'd say. Charm, Robo. I think I'll put Tranquility over Robo though. I think Tranquility is insane in the current meta, the current patch. Probably Avatar is better than Robo as well. But otherwise, I'm quite pleased here. And then the S tier, yeah, I definitely think Mass Teleport is the best ultimate in the game. There's almost no situation where this doesn't help you a ton in a game. Same with Infernal. Like a lot of these, I think the difference is that like all these S tiers except Mass Teleport are very no-brainer type ultimates. You just use a Metamorphosis, you use Phoenix, you use Storm with Fire. You just throw down an Infernal in a fight and you just get a huge advantage. Mass Teleport requires a bit more thinking, but if you can do that thinking, if you can utilize it properly, I think it is the best ultimate in the game. The question is, Storm with Fire and Infernal, you could switch those around. They're very close, I would say. But still, the fact that the Dreadlord can keep casting spells after they use Infernal, I think puts it a bit above Storm with Fire. Like you can use Infernal and then use a mana potion and throw a bunch of Carrion Swarms. Transmute maybe should be higher than both of these, but probably not. I think I'm pretty pleased with this. With the Metamorphosis being on the cusp here, it could almost be the best A tier, but I think I'll leave it here in S tier. So yeah, that was my Warcraft 3 Ultimate tier ranking. Let me know if you agree with me, or maybe you have a different ranking in mind. Some of these I think could be controversial, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe I'll make some more of these with the different themes in the future. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.